Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 361. In this episode, you're going to hear from Karen Cleveland. Karen is a spiritual mindset and connection coach. Karen works with her clients so they can achieve their dreams, mind, body, and spirit. Karen believes in connection with animals, God, the universe, all the things. Today, you're going to hear about allowing your soul to have a voice, listening to your body for inner knowing, and how to use your animal to connect with your inner divine wisdom. I think that this idea of connection with the universe, with the animals, everything around us, with nature is so important because it can tap into loving yourself. And you know what? In a couple weeks is Valentine's Day. What better time to love yourself, right? What better not, what better time to connect with yourself and the things around you? So listen to this episode, listen to what words are hard. Listen to what Karen has to say and really love yourself. Connect with the things around you. Find the things around you that make you happy. It is so stinking important. I feel like after the pandemic, it's more important now than ever that we take care of ourselves, that we love ourselves. We love the things around us, the people around us. Because you know what? Life is short. And so listen to what she has to say, implement it in your life. I know that it's going to be powerful. All right. With that, let's get to the show.
Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I'm so glad you're here. Today's guest is Karen Cleveland. Karen, thank you so much for being here. Excited to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited to be here and talk with you and see where this goes. Thanks for
So,
having me.
yeah, before we go any further, I've got to ask you, do you consider yourself ordinary or badass?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about that actually. And I consider myself badass, but to be honest, I feel really ordinary a lot of the time. But I think because I'm willing to do things that not everyone does, I guess that puts me in the badassery category.
What's an example of something that you're willing to do that other people are not?
Um, and I'm going to preface this with saying my whole life hasn't been like this, but I am willing to take some risks. I'm going to tell a short story, and it would sound absolutely crazy to some people, but I went to Kenya. So I was going on a safari, first time, and I thought it was my last time. But while I was on safari, the 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 safari was wonderful. It was magical. It was the end of the safari, and I met a man. And I had no intention of meeting a man, especially a Kenyan man. Um, and the whole relationship, so we started a relationship after that. And the whole relationship, long distance, obviously. And many times I thought that if it was an American person, I would have just thrown in the towel and said, forget it. But I just kind of kept listening to my guidance and took a leap of faith and married him. And here I am, 6 years later, we're perfectly happy. So just, taking weird little chances like that.
Yeah, I love that. And it sounds like you kind of had an inner knowing or you listened to your intuition or something. Is that true? And then if it is, how do you tune into that or tap into that?
Yeah, that is what I did. And literally, sometimes I would hear something and, but I would start, so I had an occasional meditation practice. I wasn't doing it every day. I had a practice that also not every day, but I would actually I don't know what people want to call their team. Some people might call it God. Some people might call it spirit guides or angels or your intuition. But I would get this feedback. I would sit in the meditation and ask these questions, you know, and I'll preface this with saying the reason I had questions about the relationship sometimes is because in Kenya, the phone call might drop and then we might not communicate for weeks. And so I would be like, well, am I supposed to stay with this? Is this something about me? So there was growth, personal growth for knowing it wasn't about me. Like, I shouldn't take it personally. But I just consistently kept receiving messages like, are you going to, mess up this relationship because you're not confident or because he's not confident? Or, I just kept receiving these really weird messages, and I guess they would be like inner knowings, being in meditation or being in some kind of a quiet prayer, contemplative time. And that's what I would hear consistently, time and time again. And it doesn't happen easily or immediately. It definitely took a lot of time before I ever got to this point that I trusted it, I guess, that I had faith to listen to it.
Yeah. It, Earlier you mentioned like for your badassery, it hasn't always been this way, is what you said.
Yeah.
What do you think changed things for you? Was it one specific event or was it a series of events?
Good question. I think it was a series of events. If I look back on my life, so there was a time I was I, I was not doing well. I was living payday loan to payday loan. Uh, I had jobs. Everything looked good on the outside. I had actually risen to a pretty good level in this one company, but I had so many financial problems. And I was living in my niece's house. She gave me a rental house. She gave me the family discount, and I still couldn't make ends meet, right? And then the biggest thing that happened was my adult son at the time got cancer and had to come home and live with me. And I felt terrible that my son was trying to heal in this kind of decrepit house that I was living in, and it was tiny. It was smaller than 800 square feet, and there was two of us, and so felt like a failure, complete failure. And before that, I had dabbled in meditations, visualizing, affirmations, gratitude practices, that kind of thing, but I never consistently did anything. And so I had spotty results. I might have seen some good results before that, but nothing that really stuck with me. So when that happened, when my son came to live with me, I finally, I guess, hit where I thought what the bottom should be, personally, because I felt personally responsible for making sure he got healed. And he did, by the way, probably not anything to do with me, but he's better now. And so though I said to myself, I am tired of life happening to me. I have absolutely no control over what's going on out there, and I'm tired of it. It's like it's just pushing me around. And so I dedicated to myself, I committed to myself to do a morning routine. I actually probably overdid what I needed to do. I had a morning routine, I had an evening bedtime routine, and I did things throughout the day. And I said, I'm going to try it for 30 days. They say it works. I don't know if it works. They say it works. I'm just going to do it because this sucks. And so I did that for 30 days. And I will say I got a new job during that time that paid quite a bit more. Um, but otherwise, I didn't see any significant change, but there must have been a change in my mindset because I stayed with it. And staying with it is what later led me to buy a house, to go on that first safari, um, to a lot of things that I hadn't done for a long time. Yeah.
Okay, so good. And I have so many questions, but before I dive into them, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I will. So I was born and raised in the Seattle, Washington area in a suburban, what do you call it? Out in the suburbs. And Catholic, raised five brothers, sisters. So felt like a fairly normal upbringing. I never aligned very well with the Catholic Church personally. I didn't think they were wrong, but it also didn't call me at all. So when I left home, I stopped going to church, and eventually I met, my husband, my kid's father, and looked for a church again, never really found anything, but I've kind of always stayed in the Seattle area, and I just always felt like there was something more out there that I didn't know. And I have explored many things. So I actually took animal communication classes. So after I got divorced and before my son had cancer, and there was this time period where I said to myself, Um, I'm going to try different classes because I wasn't very happy with my job. I'm going to try different things. I know I love animals, and I know that there's something else going on out there, and I don't really know. So I just took some classes. I took a film class, I took a screenwriting class, um, I took an animal communication class. And it turns out that I really liked the animal communication class and the people that were in it, and I continued to study and then, became an animal communicator. So I am also an animal communicator. I don't practice much right now. I am more about communicating with all of life and everything and our connection to everything in the world. But that is part of, well, I'll say that in a minute. So that is definitely part of my background, part of who I am. I feel like just a typical person, though. I am a minister, so through these changes with my son, I end up going to ministerial school. When I saw the results of what was going on, I thought everyone needs to know how beneficial it is, to have some kind of spiritual practice. Everyone needs to know that it can get better, that there can be changes, and that there is possibility. And I think that's one of the things I want to do is help show people that there's hope. There is hope. So anyways, so one of the ways I do that now is I take people on safari. So now I go back to Kenya all the time. I take people on safari, and I really, really love helping them connect with the animals, with the land, with just the whole everything there, because it's very different. So I like to think that, so I'm an animal person, and for anyone else that's an animal person, I feel like it's an easy way to get to, our soul, to get to our own divine wisdom is to go through the animals. So that's how I like to approach it. And that's why I like safaris, because you're not at home, you're in a different environment, it's magical, and it's fun, and it's, a once in a lifetime experience. But it also doesn't have to be just going on a drive to see animals. There can be so much more life learning in it.
So you mentioned this idea of communicating with all of life, communicating with animals or communicating with all of life. What does that mean? How do you get to that?
Practice. That's a fantastic question, is how do you get to it? And I honestly don't know any way but practice, just by being open, um, and by sitting down. So specific tips, for example, would be if if you don't feel like you're part of the world, like if you're feeling separate from everything, I think the starting point is to learn how to get quiet without the mind just going crazy all the time. And even if it's 5 minutes, to allow your own divine wisdom to have a voice, or to allow your soul to have a voice. And also, if you're a person that has animals in the house, it's a chance to let them talk to you. And a lot of people don't realize that the information they pick up is not from their own thoughts, but sometimes it does come from the animals, or it comes from another source that's trying to communicate with us, whether it's another person, a distant person. Um, but I, what I have seen in my experience of talking to animals and talking to people is that our animals are talking to us all the time, and we pick up the information, but we don't know it's coming from them. And the starting point is always learning how to sit down and be quiet, and then going through processes to learn to trust the information you're receiving and that kind of stuff. But that first step is having a few minutes of silence, I think.
What's one step that you do or that you take to trust the information you're receiving?
Muscle testing, actually, in the very beginning, I used to muscle test. And so our muscles know the truth, and they stay strong and strong and contracted, or just strong if the truth is being told, and they go weak if a lie is being told, basically. And because I believe our body is the link between the divine world and the earthly world, the information that our body has, that our muscles know, is coming from our divine highest good. And so if we ask ourselves a question, so a sway test is one of the ways that I would get information. And it's about you stand up, and for those that don't know what a sway test is, or muscle testing is. So again, the premise is your muscle will do one thing when it's the truth and one thing when it's not the truth for you. And so the first thing you need to do is determine what your truth is, what your yes is. And usually it's a simple statement like, my name is Karen, and you see what your muscles do. So for me, if I'm standing and I'm flat-footed, and I say, my name is Karen, I will start to lean forward a little bit. Not so much to throw me off balance, but just lean forward a little bit. And if I say, my name is Gladys, then I will go backwards a little bit, because that's not the truth. And this is something that I have just practiced over time. I do it sometimes in the produce department to pick out a good watermelon or mango. In the supplement department, do I need this one or this one? Because things are hard to pick out sometimes. Even for my animals, actually, what's a good supplement for them, or what's a good food for them right now? But so learning what your muscles do, sway test is just one way. There's other ways that people do it with locking fingers, and I'm not, I can't even show you because I'm not good at that. But so practice things that you will find out that you don't know the answer to yet, but you're going to find out what the answer is, just to test, just so you can learn and begin to have faith that it is telling you the truth. And not only so test it with the muscles, but pay attention to how you feel. So you begin to know when you have a question or when you don't know what to do, and you start to, discern, compare, I guess, and you see how you feel differently with the different options. Um, figure out which one you think feels best for you, and then you can confirm it with the muscle test. And that was actually part of the way that I began trusting the information that I received when after I met my husband. It was because I would say, really, really, I should stay with him. It's like, okay, I'm going to trust it for now. I don't know. I'm just going to do it. And that's how it's worked out. So yeah.
So, to make sure that I understand, muscle test is kind of paying attention to your muscles and their reactions to thing. Is that what it is?
It's using your muscles to find out the truth for you, what's best for you. Um, I wish I could remember how this muscle test goes, it's really easy to do with two people. Um, but if your muscles stay strong when you tell the truth, or if your muscles stay strong when you ask a question, then that would be the truth for you or your yes. And if your muscle goes weak, then that would be a no for you or, not in your best interest, depending on the situation. And so I adapt it to what we call a sway test, which is standing and the muscles going one way or going another way, because our body knows what our truth is. Our body knows what it needs because I believe it's packed full of divine wisdom. And so finding ways to listen to our body is a way to get answers and on how to move forward, how to move out of something or move into something.
Yeah. And earlier you'd mentioned this idea of going through animals to get to our own divine wisdom. And I was like, how do you do that? And was that like through the muscle test and the sway test or something else?
Through something else. So for those people that do have animals, or no, let me rephrase it. For people that like animals, so it probably has to start with someone that at least likes animals or loves animals. If you can sit quietly with an animal, whether you're watching it at a distance of 100 yards or if it's sitting next to you on the couch, if you're able to sit quietly with that animal and just uh, experience what the energy is between you. So that would be like an energetic connection with them. They, if you were to ask your your animal sitting next to you or the cheetah 100 yards out, if you were to ask it a question, and you were in that quiet space, receptive space, without any expectation on what the answer might be, I believe you would receive some kind of information from the animal. And through that is how you can begin to build confidence and I can't think of what the word is, but confidence and expectation in knowing you can receive the answers from a divine source. So a lot of people believe, understand that the animals don't really have an attachment to how we live our life. Certainly our dogs want us to live a good life because they want a good life. But in general, they don't have an expectation on how we do that or what we do. And so they are, you know, Switzerland is the only word I can think of. They're not committed one way or another. They're not attached to what it looks like. So spending time with an animal that just simply knows what um or doesn't know but wants us to express just our best selves without expectation how it's done and receiving information, being in that connection with them can help us then it and I have exercises to do this, so that's why I'm stumbling a little bit, but it helps us to then connect deeper with our own divine wisdom. Um, to sit with a wild animal and have it actually look at you, it's like it's an acknowledgement that we are something. And people might feel it when they connect with a dog on the street or a cat or a squirrel or a raccoon. It's kind of the same thing. It's like when a wild animal that can be anywhere in the world right now, it doesn't have to be in front of you, looks at you and acknowledges you, it's like there's almost some divine wisdom right there in that moment for you, but it certainly gives us a space to start to explore, what what is the meaning of this? What is the purpose of this? And that's part of what I like to do is there meaning in this? You know, ask the question. And what is the meaning for me? Because I think at the end of the day, that's all that matters is what is the meaning for me and how does it help me move forward in my life? So, so to maybe answer your question, you know, I've kind of gone a long way here, but receiving information from a source that doesn't really care is kind of the wrong word, but that it doesn't matter to them if we receive it the right way or if we take it personally in the wrong way somehow. They have information for us and we can use it how we need to use it. And if we see it as coming from a divine source, then hopefully we can use it, you know, to help ourselves.
So I want to pivot a little bit and talk about the safaris and what got you into that. What was your first experience like, and just what led you to go to like Kenya to go on a safari?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember a time I didn't want to go on safari, although I think I remember it most strongly, and this is going to sound crazy, but when my kids were watching Lion King, the cartoon, it's like, I want to go there. You know, I want to go see those animals. So for a lot of years, and I don't know how many years ago that was that it came out, but and also the Jungle Book, actually. The Jungle Book was one of my favorites when I think I was little. I don't know. Anyways, so I wanted to go and I made plans to go often, and it wasn't until I um started making a little more money that I was able to go. And at that time, you know, at that time I had been studying animal communication, but I really, as much as I wanted to go see the animals, I just wanted to touch the dirt. I just wanted to go to Kenya because it felt a little bit like maybe it was home or something like that, or something was just calling me there. So I went with two friends. It was basically a private safari. I didn't plan any of it. I let my one friend plan it and the safari guide. And it was just magical day after day. I went with the expectation that hopefully I'll see a couple of animals, but I didn't know what the possibilities were, what the reality might be of how many animals I might see. So I set my expectations super low. And I think because of that, every day just got more magical than the last day, or the previous day. So seeing all these animals, all these different situations, you know, connecting with the people, touching the dirt, all of it was very magical for me. And by the end of the safari, I thought to myself, I need to bring people back here. You know, this has had an impact on me and in so many ways. So, like I said, not just the animals, but totally different culture. Uh, so many people live a very different lifestyle than we live. So it also brought up a lot of like personal questions like, you know, why do I get this and they don't? Or, you know, why do they seem happier, you know, when I have all this stuff? So all these questions came up, but I knew I wanted to bring people back. And I didn't know what it would look like or how it was going to be possible, but I just thought other people should be able to experience this. And because it wasn't very expensive for me, eh, I mean, at that time, so this was a number of years ago, I mean, it was under $3,000 at that time. And I thought, when I look at the safaris in the magazines and stuff, they look very luxurious and very expensive and very out of reach. And so I wanted to have safaris that were actually within reach because, like I said, you know, at that time, mine was about $3,000. It is, you know, a little more now, but they don't have to be expensive. They can still be really, really nice, and impactful and meaningful and not, you know, completely break you. So I brought 6 people back the next year. Um, and then I went back the next year and through COVID, I tried to take people, but it just fell through because the travel regulations and it just didn't go well. So I just did my first one since COVID in last September, and went with 16 people. And I have another 16 trip going in 2024. So and and the people, they're so grateful, and they've all talked about, how it impacts their lives. So I do a journal, I have exercises, I like to do, optional spiritual practice in the morning, meditation or prayer time in the morning, and conversation in the evening, that kind of stuff to help people work through what they're feeling, what they're seeing, what they're experiencing, and so that they're not doing it like all alone. Even if you went with your family or maybe some of your friends, sometimes they don't think like you and they don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. So those are the kind of things that I, want to talk about. I also teach this, it's a oneness class, connectedness class, um, that is good for people before they go on safari. And it doesn't mean they have to go on my safari, but, before a wildlife adventure, about how we can be present with all these different aspects of life. And then once you go on safari, it just kind of brings it all together and helps us determine what is important to us and what's not important, and help us move forward through life in a different way.
So, what's like one thing that can help us be more present in our everyday life, whether you're going on a safari or not?
Um, okay, it's gonna sound weird, but if you can take like 5 minutes and close your eyes and sit down and it's gonna sound crazy, just like put your hand out with your eyes closed. And how do you know your hand is there without seeing it, without touching it, without doing something with it? So getting in touch with feeling it right now. Same thing is true with your feet. If you can sit with your eyes closed and, what do your feet feel like? How can you be present right now with anything? Or even it, as you see, I almost always come back to be quiet, sit down and be quiet with your eyes closed, but listen to the sounds around you right now. You don't necessarily have to name them, but anything that brings you into the present moment where everything is okay. And then um, help center you for moving forward. But actually, so a few ideas: checking your hand, checking your feet, or listening for the noises. I actually really like that one, especially when we're outside, and just listen to the sounds. You don't even recognize them sometimes, as far as pay attention to them, recognize them. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is the same thing, but Tara Brock, like I listened to her podcast and like the meditations on her podcast,
Uh-huh.
and sometimes she'll say like, oh, like actually quite a few times she'll say, feel your hands, feel your feet, like feel the tingling or the energy in your hands, the energy in
Uh-huh.
your feet. Is that the same type of thing or no?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. It is, because it's paying attention to how do they feel right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, so often we're in a social media world where everything looks like it's gumdrops and lollipops, and people think like, "Oh, Karen can do this, but I can't do this. Everything's so easy for Karen," and we just don't see the behind the scenes.
Right.
So, what is one of the struggles or the hardships you've went through in your life to get to where you are today?
My mindset about um not being good enough, not a- as a single woman in the Seattle area, I'd never be able to buy a house on my own. I'd have to have a husband. So I tied up like my worth and my ability to do things in having a partner for a long time. Before I started going through this process and bought my house on my own, which was a huge win for me because honestly, I didn't think I could do it. for so many years. And I would start looking at other women who would buy their own houses like, well, she did it, but I can't do it. And but so still, so that's been something, my money mindset coming from depression era parents, a lot of money mindset issues. But I mean, nothing's perfect. There's still bad days. I still, to this day, can sometimes think that I don't have enough as far as, I don't have enough money to pay my bills at the end of the month, or I don't have enough of something. Even when I sit down and I look at stuff and it's like, okay, everything, is adding up, but it's been so ingrained in me, it just takes time, a long time to get rid of some of those recurring thoughts in our heads.
Yes, I love that. I know. I think that we like often think there has to be an end point, or we want to snap our fingers and have everything be fixed right now. But like that's not the reality of things. Life is always going to come our way or throw different things at us.
It is. It is. It's like, even though I was just telling my daughter something, it's like, I thought I fixed that part of me already, but it's back. It's back. Maybe it's in a different way, a little bit. I've been doing a lot of work. So I had a pretty normal childhood. There was nothing like overly traumatic about my personal childhood or anything. Yet I've discovered, and I listened to this one podcast where she talks a lot about the signs of childhood trauma. And it's like, I do that. That is a problem for me. Just things like saying I forget, or the little things. And and so you work on them, you release them, and then they come back in a different way, because there's still more to do.
Yeah, it's like a game of whack-a-mole.
It is. It really is. Yeah, life's not perfect. It's better. It's not perfect.
So, Karen, let's end with a tip to encourage women who are in the arena fighting for the life that they want.
Yes, keep fighting, but not only fight and believe in yourself, but begin to learn how to accept. So if you can, not always as easy as just my saying it. So trust me, I've had to gone through, weeks and years of doing some of this. But I had affirmations help me switch from not having any money to always knowing that money comes easy to me. And like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I still sometimes think, oh, I don't have enough money. But then I remember money comes easy to me. And it was about 3 months of affirmations every single day that money comes easy to me. So whatever you're drawn to, I also think gratitude is a tremendous thing, tremendous, helpful thing for us, even if it's just for a moment and it helps raise our spirits a little bit. I mean, that can be enough to get us over the hump sometimes. I actually have one tip that I often I think is really good. And it's just feeling happy. So think of a time an animal, a kid, a movie, anything made you laugh. Think of something that made you laugh and hold that feeling and that thought only for 17 seconds. That 17 seconds of raising your energy is going to be enough to erase some of the bad mojo from the day. You can do it once a day, you can do it twice a day, but anything that's going to help start to lift you out of whatever it is, and just intentionally do it. 17 seconds you can do. And then that's where the possibility lies beyond that.
I love that. And I think it's something we're not taught. We're not taught that we can change our own energy.
Right. Right.
So, Karen, how
Exactly.
can we connect with you?
Thank you for asking. I am at revkarencleveland.com, REVE, Karen Cleveland. And actually, if you go to Rev Karen Podcast, there are some freebies on there as far as some practices to start going, under 10-minute practices that you can do every day or once a week, whatever you want to do. So on Facebook at Rev Karen Cleveland, Instagram. So I'd love to connect with any of the listeners later.
Thank you so much, Karen. You've been a total badass, and I've enjoyed hearing your story.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
And with that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.